It's been just over a week since Animal Crossing 3.0 launched. And it's safe to say, after a week of playing this non-stop, Raymond! I have some thoughts. Now, this update did come as a complete surprise to just about everyone. As of right now, it has been over 5 years since Animal Crossing New Horizons first came out, which feels crazy to say out loud. And it's also been just over 4 years since we got what Nintendo called the last major update, Animal Crossing 2.0. And this added a bunch of new features to the game, like Cap'n, Brewster, and the return of good old Tortimer. And alongside of that, we also got a paid DLC. So it truly did feel like that was gonna be it for Animal Crossing fans, and that would have to wait until a brand new Animal Crossing game came out in order to feel something again. But then, out of literally nowhere, we got the announcement about Animal Crossing 3.0. Now, this was something that would easily have made any Nintendo Direct that it would be in a slam dunk. But instead, they decided to just randomly upload it on a Thursday morning instead. And this promised quality of life features that the community have been begging for, like bulk crafting and the ability to use items in your storage for crafting, but also brand new features as well, like the hotel, where villagers could come on holiday to stay, and you could decorate each of the hotel rooms with a different theme yourself. And truthfully, I do think Nintendo set up this update pretty well. You see, unlike every single other Nintendo Switch 2 upgrade, the bulk of this update was going to be available to everyone, regardless of whether you were playing on Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch 2, meaning that this is an update that everyone could get excited about. The other pleasant surprise about all of this was it turns out Nintendo actually undersold the update trailer, and the game itself has way more features than they mentioned in that video. But also, in true Nintendo fashion, they've also made some decisions that don't really make a lot of sense. And some of the upgrades that they gave us don't really feel like upgrades. So let's start off with some of the quality of life features, and also where some of the biggest surprises were actually to be had. First off, we have bulk crafting, which is absolutely life-changing, allowing you to craft up to 10 items at once, meaning that now we can finally make bait more than one at a time. And honestly, this quality of life feature should not have taken 5 years to reach us, but I'm glad it did. Crafting is also way easier now, as you can pull all of the resources straight from storage and not need to have them in your bag. We can also store things like trees and bushes in storage now, which is made all the better by the fact that we can upgrade our storage a little bit further now for a whopping 1.8 million bells. And then we have the surprise quality of life update, which is the ability to sidestep. And I did not know how much I needed this quality of life update until after I had already used it, as essentially all this really does is help you move in a straight line while facing the same direction, and you can move one square at a time. But even though it is so simple, it has transformed my decorating experience, because instead of needing to do this little weird loop around every single time that you wanted to put a custom design on the ground or terraform, you now just have to press L, press in one direction, and you can already do it. I also love the fact that you could do this really adorable little hop and it makes this noise. It's just so satisfying. Another small change they added is the ability to buy 50 customization kits at once, which again should not have taken this long to hit us. You can also now take a second boat ride with Cap'n every single day. The first ride you do with him will still cost Nook Miles, but the second ride will cost hotel tickets instead. And one thing that I didn't notice until recently is the fact that if you give a scallop to Pascal, you now also receive a pearl. And all of these changes by themselves don't make a huge amount of difference to your playing experience, but getting them all at once has really made such a big difference to the game. And I do finally think that they've made this game with decorators in mind. Now next, let's talk about one of the biggest features coming in the 3.0 update, and that was Slumber Islands. Now, in theory, this is a very cool feature. This allows you to have effectively 3 additional islands on top of your existing island, and to make things even better, you also get to choose what size this island is going to be. So you can either do a mini build, you can have an island that's the same size as your ordinary island, or one in between. And this truly feels like this is a mode made with decorators in mind. The sort of players who want to play Animal Crossing to make cool builds. Now, the best way to describe a Slumber Island is that nothing here is actually real. This means that you can decorate with any of the items in your catalog, so not only do you not need to craft anything, but you also don't have to order any items from a catalog and wait for them to be delivered. This allows you to just instantly start using any item that you can see here. You can also just pick up things like trees and rocks and instantly make a rock garden, which is pretty cool. And you can also bring in villagers, and this will let you choose any villager who has ever lived on your island, not just the ones that currently live there. The only thing is, I do hate that they basically do nothing. All they do is walk around. They don't have any dialogue when you speak to them, and they also don't have any houses. So they are more or less purely there just to get in your way while you decorate. You can also place down bridges and inclines like you would do on your normal island, only here they're free. And of course, you can also terraform. They also added in the ability to play this with friends. So if you're on the Nintendo Switch, you can have up to 8 people, and if you're on the Switch 2, you can have a total of 12 people. And thankfully, they have streamlined the whole process of getting people onto your Slumber Island, so it doesn't take a million years, thankfully. And honestly, the best part of Slumber Islands is it gave us something we desperately needed in Animal Crossing New Horizons. And that is something to do with your friends. And even though it isn't what we were hoping for, like maybe them reintroducing mini games or something like that, just having the ability to finally be able to decorate together is actually really nice to have. Now, in theory, all of this sounds wonderful so far, but there are a few decisions that maybe put a little bit of a sour note onto the Slumber Islands. The first of which is the fact that in order to access this mode, you need to have an active Nintendo Online membership, which I honestly don't think makes much sense whatsoever. I understand that you'll need to have a membership to play with friends online, but to block the entire feature altogether doesn't really make a lot of sense and stops people being able to play together in person, which I think is what Nintendo is all about at its core. The other part that seems a little convoluted and a little bit of a mess, if you ask me, is the custom designs. Now, previously in the game, we were limited to just 100 custom design slots. And even though this sounds like a lot at first, once you start actually actively decorating and adding things like custom paths, you end up filling up these slots pretty quickly. And the big question we got when Slumber Islands were first revealed is, will we get more custom design slots? And the answer to this was yes, but also no, as basically the way this works is that you can bring over any custom design slot that you already have on your main island. But the catch is, if you delete the custom design slot on your main island, it will stay on the Slumber Island. So this does mean that if you wanted to, you can bring over completely new codes that you can just use on the Slumber Island and then delete them all for your main island and fill them up with completely different ones. The issue is that this is an update made for the decorators. And you know what a lot of people who love decorating already have? 100 full custom design slots. And no ability to delete those without ruining their main island. And this just feels like such an odd decision to make it so unbelievably convoluted. I don't know why they didn't just have a terminal on the Slumber Island, or just allow you to access the internet and download one specifically onto the Slumber Island, seeing as you already had to have an online membership. But this was so needlessly messy and could have been handled so much better. Another thing I'd love to do on a Slumber Island, especially right now, is control the season. I, like many Animal Crossing goers, am not a huge fan of the snow and feel like it's around way longer than it should be. But unfortunately, this mode only lets you change what time of day it is and not what time of year it is, so you really can't escape the snow no matter what. Overall, I do think Slumber Islands are a pretty cool thing to have in the game. It is just a shame that it's locked behind the Nintendo Online membership. And I do like the fact that this now means that you don't have to restart your island if you want to do a completely new theme, although they have made it more difficult than they needed to. Speaking of restarting, we should probably talk about Rossetti, as he offers a couple of really cool features that are really useful. As essentially, you pay Rossetti a fee of 60,000 bells and you get his services for the entire day. And you can get him to do anything from removing all the furniture that you have placed around your island. He can also get rid of all the flowers, and then he also gives you the option to completely reset. And this can either be for specific areas or it can be your entire island. So if you're someone looking to do a complete redesign, this is definitely an easier way than doing it yourself. The other major feature introduced into 3.0 was the hotel. And I actually think this might have been a game changer for me, but not for the reasons you might initially think. Now, the hotel has a few features inside of it, the first of which is the requests. So outside the hotel, you will find this box filled with DIY requests, which when completed will give you hotel tickets as a reward. And thankfully, these requests actually refresh every single time you complete one of them. And they also made an extra tab on the crafting page so you can see exactly what you need to make, making it even easier. And this was actually one of my favorite parts of this update because I'm not a huge decorator, and even though a lot of this update seemed geared towards people who love that aspect of the game, this part was actually a great addition to my daily routine. As not only did this give me a reason to craft, it also finally gave me a reason to go out and find more resources, something I haven't done in a while. Another thing you can do each and every day is decorate up to 2 hotel rooms, and each of them will have their own theme, and when you complete them, you'll also be rewarded with tickets. Now, you don't need the Happy Home Paradise DLC to enjoy this mode, but it definitely does have a benefit, as you'll be able to use everything that you unlock through Happy Home Paradise to decorate these hotel rooms, like for example the ability to make the rooms larger. But I do think this is enjoyable regardless of whether you have Happy Home Paradise or not. And if I'm being entirely honest, I actually think the hotel rooms were more fun overall than some of the stuff you had to do in Happy Home Paradise. But it's definitely something to keep in mind. And the best part of the hotel rooms is once they're decorated, the very next day, you'll have villagers filling each of the decorated rooms. And because there's 8 hotel rooms for you to decorate, this means that you will have up to 8 different villagers wandering around your village. And don't worry, even when you've finished all of the 8 rooms, you can carry on decorating. So this game mode doesn't end when they're finished. Now, the hotel tickets that I mentioned earlier can also be exchanged with Gran for some brand new items, and the more hotel rooms you do, the larger the catalogue of items that you can get. Now actually, for the most part, I absolutely loved these items, and now I have them, I can't imagine decorating without them. And it's well worth coming into the hotel every single day to check out which items you might be able to grab at a huge discount. Now, the reason why I say that for the most part I like the items is because of the retro consoles. Now, when these were shown in the Direct, I thought they looked absolutely awesome. As unlike with the Nintendo Switch console and the Nintendo Switch 2 console that you can get in the game, these retro consoles all have a single game on them, finally adding some sort of mini-game into the game itself. Here is where the catch is though. You see, you need a Nintendo Online membership to be able to play the mini-games. And that's because most of them can be played either single player or 2-player. This means that if you are someone without a Nintendo Online membership, this update to you is missing a lot of features, as you now aren't able to access the Slumber Islands whatsoever, and you can't play these mini games. There was one thing about this hotel edition that really transformed this game for me, and that was the extra villagers running around your island. Because not only do they wear whatever wonderful outfit that you've put out for them, which I think is wonderful, they've also added so much life to the game. It no longer feels like this is an abandoned island that has a few homes on it, but it actually has started to feel like a little town. Every time I go into Brewster's, there seems to always be at least one person sat in there. I don't run more than a couple of meters before I bump into at least one one villager, which compared to before is a big change. And even the new dialogue has been so refreshing, as old villagers who used to live on your island even remember you when they come to visit. And sometimes you can have some really fun interactions with the tourists as well, like them being lost and you needing to help them back to the hotel. And I really do think this has made such a huge change. Now, one thing that only hit me recently that this hotel has done is kind of put a spanner in the works when it comes to villager hunting. Because as someone who loves a good villager hunt, I could definitely say things have changed. Now, as you probably already know, if you have a vacant plot on your island, you can use Nook Mile tickets to go villager hunting. And typically the way it worked is that you'd have a chance to see any villager who doesn't currently live on your island, with the exception of a few who are in your autofill queue. But things have changed a little bit with the addition of the hotel, and now not only will you not be able to see any of the villagers who live on your island, you also will not see any of the villagers who are visiting your island. So what this means is if you have a vacant plot on your island and you're searching for a specific villager, if that villager happens to be visiting at the hotel, you will not be able to ask them to join your island. So just a little thing to bear in mind. Now, alongside of all of this, we also got the addition of the Splatoon and Zelda villagers and items. Now, I do like the brand new villagers. I did end up bringing Minoru onto my own island, but the thing I actually wound up liking the most was the items. Now, I do like Splatoon, but I love Zelda, so it was definitely the Zelda items that took me the most. And I think the coolest part about these new items is actually the fact that nearly all of them are somewhat interactable. And even though I do hate the fact that they are locked with Amiibo, I do think they did a really good job with these. The real thing though that this highlighted to me is how much more Nintendo could have done with all of the rest of their IPs. We could have got so many cool crossovers, like sure we have the Mario items, but what about Mario villagers? We also have all the other major franchises like Pokemon, Pikmin, Kirby. They could have had something done with them, and I feel like Nintendo slept on this possibility so much, and I hope they don't with the next game. The final thing I want to touch on is the Nintendo Switch 2 upgrade. And this is the only part of the update which actually cost some money. And this came with not only a graphics bump going from 1080p when docked to 4K and 720p in handheld to 1080p, but it also came with a few exclusive features like the megaphone, allowing you to yell a character's name and then them replying to help you find them easier, and also came with the addition of mouse mode for decorating and doing custom designs. Now, it is important to note that this did cost only $5 and was completely optional. And to me, I think if you have a 4K monitor or TV, this update is probably worth it. I thought it was noticeable, at least for me. And even in handheld, I felt like it looked a lot sharper. The other features though are just a bit of a mess. Like the megaphone for me did not work very well. Raymond! Raymond! Raymond. What is going on? Can you just say gibberish? I feel like it just guesses. Ah. What is this? I feel like it's either because the Nintendo Switch 2 is kind of far away from me and that I didn't have the webcam plugged in, or it's my British accent. But a part of me thinks the game just randomizes who answers and has no clue what you say. I will say though, I found this whole experience actually hilarious, so I don't mind it all that much. The one thing I do hate is the fact that if the character you're looking for is inside of any building, you won't get a response. And a lot of the villages exist inside a lot of the time, so really the microphone is kind of useless. Mouse mode, I don't know, it wasn't really needed if we're being entirely honest. It is such a hassle if you are using a Pro controller to switch to mouse mode, as not only do you need to go get the Joy-Cons from your Nintendo Switch 2, you then need to go into the home menu, switch which controller is active, go back into the game, do whatever you want in mouse mode, and then go back to the home menu, switch back to the Pro Controller, and carry on playing. And even in handheld mode, it's just so much easier to use the normal controls than to mess with mouse mode. So I feel like this was a little bit of a gimmick to add on, if I'm being entirely honest. So this upgrade is only really worth it if you have a way to experience the 4K upgrade, or if you're someone who plays in handheld a lot and will think you will notice the difference. Overall, I feel like this was an update that we knew was going to be aimed at the decorators. And as much as I would have loved to have seen an update that maybe focused a little bit less on the decorating side of things and a little bit more on some more of the life sim stuff, like maybe giving us a little bit more than the DIYs to add to our daily routine, I do think fundamentally that would mean that this would become a different game, as Animal Crossing New Horizons has largely been a game that is focused on the decorating. But if we're being honest, I think the biggest thing this update did was give me a reason to pick up Animal Crossing once again. This is, after all, one of my all-time favorite games. But as someone who has thousands of hours in it, it was a game I didn't see myself returning to, at least anytime soon. So to have an update that not only brought me back to the game, but got me falling in love with it all over again, does feel really special, even if not all the features are my favorite. And I must say, it is so nice to be back home. And if you're looking for some more cozy games to get excited for that are coming to the Switch and the Switch 2, click this video here.